My name is Juniper Holly. I'm 29 years old. 14 years ago, on a night when the sky over our small Ohio town split open with thunder, my father looked me in the eyes and said, "Get out. I don't want a broken daughter under my roof." I was 16, standing in the rain with nothing but the clothes on my back. The reason my younger sister told one lie, one calculated, devastating lie that my parents swallowed whole. And just like that, I stopped existing to them. 4 hours later, a hospital called my parents to come identify a patient. I'd been struck by a car on Route 9. When my father walked into that hospital room and saw who was sitting beside my bed, all the color drained from his face. He stammered, "You can't be here. How do you even..." The woman sitting there was Dr. Vivian Cross, one of the most respected law professors in the entire state. She'd found me lying in a ditch on the side of the road and called the ambulance herself. That night changed the entire direction of my life. Last spring, I stood on a stage as the keynote speaker at my sister's college graduation. My parents had absolutely no idea I was coming. Before I tell you what happened when they finally saw me standing at that podium, if you're enjoying this story, please consider hitting like and subscribing, only if it's genuinely resonating with you. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from tonight? Now let me take you back to where it all began. I learned early in life that in the Hale household, my sister Bryn's tears carried more weight than any of my achievements ever could. When I was 12, I won first place at the county science fair. My project on solar water purification beat out over 50 other students across 3 schools. I ran home clutching that blue ribbon like it was made of gold, burst through the front door, and found my mother in the kitchen. "I won," I shouted. She smiled, hugged me. "That's wonderful. Sweetheart." Then Bryn walked in from gymnastics practice. 9 years old, face red, tears streaming down her cheeks. I fell off the beam. Everyone laughed at me. My mother's arms left me instantly. She knelt down, pulled Bryn close. "Oh, baby, it's okay. You'll do better next time." I stood there holding my ribbon. Nobody asked to see it. That was the pattern of our whole childhood. Bryn needed more attention. Bryn was sensitive. Bryn required careful handling. I learned to celebrate quietly, to need less, to take up less space in my own home. By the time I was 15, I'd stopped showing my parents my report cards. Straight A's simply couldn't compete with Bryn's B- meltdowns. When I got accepted into a prestigious 2-week environmental science academy with a full scholarship, I was thrilled beyond words. My father looked up from his phone just long enough to say, "That's nice." "June." Bryn burst into tears. "Why does she get to go away? That's not fair." "I need her here." I didn't go to the academy. My parents called it family unity. I called it learning to be small. The lying started in small ways. Bryn, 13 years old now, would take my things without asking. When I mentioned it gently, always gently, she'd deny it flatly. Even when the evidence was sitting on her own bed, my mother would sigh, "June, don't start fights." Then $75 went missing from my mother's purse. Bryn said she saw me near it that morning. I hadn't even been home. I'd left early for a study group. My father called me into his study. "Did you take money from your mother?" "No, I didn't." "Bryn says you did." Bryn is lying. His jaw tightened. "Don't accuse your sister. I'm disappointed in you." "June, I thought you were better than this." I lost my phone privileges for a month. And the academy opportunity I'd been promised the following summer disappeared entirely. We can't trust you with independence right now, my mother said. Bryn watched from the staircase. When our parents weren't looking, she smiled at me. That stolen $75 had just been a test run. She was learning exactly how far she could push. The pattern kept escalating. A shattered vase, my fault. A failed test she hadn't studied for, I should have helped her more. A rumor at school, I must have started it. I stopped defending myself. What was the point? They chose her tears over my truth every single time. By I felt like a ghost in my own house. Present, but invisible, unless someone needed a scapegoat. There was a boy at my school named Eli. He sat next to me in AP chemistry and was hopeless at balancing equations. He'd asked me to help him study a few times after class. That was all it ever was, homework help. Bryn had an enormous, all-consuming crush on him. She'd walk past our classroom just to catch a glimpse of him. On a Tuesday, Eli caught me at my locker to thank me for the help. Maybe we could study together for the midterm. He said, "Sure, the library works." I answered. He walked off. I turned around and saw Bryn 20 feet down the hallway, staring, her face pale as chalk. That Friday, a massive storm system was rolling towards Cedar Falls. Wind advisory, flood watch. Everyone in town was stocking up, boarding windows, bracing for it. Bryn hadn't spoken a full sentence to me in days. Dinner that night was eaten in near silence. The weather alerts buzzing on my father's phone every few minutes. Afterward, I went upstairs to finish an essay. Around 8 p.m., I heard crying downstairs. Loud, heaving sobs. My mother's voice, soothing, then my father's voice, sharp June. Get down here. Now, my stomach dropped straight through the floor. Bryn was curled against our mother on the couch, face swollen with tears. My father stood by the fireplace, arms crossed, face red with fury. "Tell her what you told us," he said, his voice like ice. Bryn's lip trembled. "Why do you hate me so much?" "I don't hate you." I said, "What is this?" She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and showed my mother a screenshot, a group chat full of cruel messages supposedly sent from my account. Vicious things about Bryn that I would never in a million years say. My name, my photo, my words. Apparently, I didn't write those. I said, "Someone must have gotten into my account. Stop lying." My father snapped. Then Bryn pulled back her sleeve to reveal a dark bruise blooming across her forearm. "You pushed me on the stairs last week. I didn't want to say anything because I thought maybe you were just stressed. I never touched you." I said, my voice cracking. "She did," my mother said quietly, moving to stand between us. "June, this is serious. I don't know how she got that bruise." I said, "Maybe she did it to herself." The words hit the room like a thunderclap. Bryn's eyes went wide with fresh, glistening tears. "You think I'd hurt myself just to frame you?" "Yes," I said, desperate now. "Because this is what you do. You've been lying about me for years." My father took a step toward me. "Is this true? Have you been bullying your sister? Making her miserable?" "No. Please, just listen to me. I've heard enough." He said, his fist slamming onto the mantel, "I've heard enough of your excuses." My mother's voice went flat with disappointment. "I thought we raised you better than this." I looked at Bryn one more time. For just a fraction of a second, the tears vanished, and her eyes went cold, calculating, dry. Then it was gone again, replaced by fresh sobbing. You're lying. I whispered. I'm not, she said, and her voice didn't shake at all. My father's face went cold and flat. I don't want to hear another word from you. Something is wrong with you. You need help. Right now. I need you out of my sight. Thunder rattled the windows. Dad, it's storming outside. I don't care. Get out. I don't want a broken daughter like you in this house. I looked at my mother, silently begging her to stop this, to say something, anything. She turned away instead, wrapping her arm tighter around Bryn. I grabbed my jacket off the hook, hands shaking so badly I could barely zip it. The door slammed shut behind me. Through the window, I saw Bryn watching me leave. She wasn't crying anymore. She was smiling. The rain hit me like a wall, cold and merciless. I had nowhere to go, so I just started walking, away from that house, away from the lies, away from parents who decided I was the sick one. My phone was at 8% battery. No one answered when I called my two closest friends. It was Friday night. Everyone was home. Varm. Safe. Not me. The town library was closed. Dark. Locked up tight against the storm. The bus station was 2 miles away. I started walking toward it, soaked through, teeth chattering, barely able to see through the sheeting rain. I was crossing at the intersection of Route 9 when the headlights appeared out of nowhere. A horn blared. Brakes screamed against wet asphalt. I tried to jump back. I wasn't fast enough. The impact threw me sideways. My head cracked against the pavement, and everything went white. Then sideways. Then wrong. I heard a car door slam. Footsteps splashing through puddles. A woman's voice. Frantic. Oh my God, sweetheart. Can you hear me? Don't move. I'm calling 911. Stay with me. What's your name? I managed to whisper, my parents. Okay. What's their number? I'll call them. They don't want me. I coughed, tasting blood. They said I'm broken. They don't want me anymore. Her face changed. I saw something shift in her expression recognition. Or maybe horror. You're gonna be okay. She said, though her voice shook, I promise you're gonna be okay. Sirens grew louder in the distance. Her face was the last thing I saw before everything went black. My first clear memory afterward is sound beeping monitors. Fluorescent lights, the sting of antiseptic, and a voice I didn't recognize yet, but would come to know as home. She has a severe concussion and possible internal bleeding. I'm not leaving her alone. Ma'am, are you family? I'm the one who hit her with my car. I'm staying until her parents arrive. Time slipped in and out. Eventually I heard new voices, familiar ones. We're Juniper's parents. My father said, strained. I'm Dr. Vivian Cross. The woman answered, her tone now cool and precise. I'm the one who hit your daughter with my car tonight. It was an accident. My father said quickly, we don't blame. She was 16 years old, alone, in the middle of a storm. Dr. Crosscut in. Why was she out there? Silence. We had a family situation. My mother finally said, a discipline issue. What kind of discipline issue? Dr. Cross said slowly, involves putting a child out into a storm. I heard her footsteps move away. I need to speak with a social worker now. That won't be necessary. My father said, trying to sound authoritative and failing completely. We're her parents. We'll handle this. With respect, sir, you've handled it enough. The moment you sent a minor out into a storm, this stopped being a private family matter. A police officer's voice joined in soon after. My parents' explanations grew thinner and thinner. I fluttered my eyes open just enough to see shapes my father's silhouette. My sister hovering behind him. She's waking up. Dr. Cross said, everyone out. Now. The door closed. I felt her hand close gently around mine. You're safe now, she whispered. I promise you're safe. I woke up fully 3 days later. My parents were gone. Dr. Cross was still there. She'd kept her promise. I spent 5 days in that hospital. She came every single day, brought books, sat by my bed, talked to me about universities and futures I'd never dared to imagine for myself. My parents visited once, dropped off a bag of clothes, and left without an apology, without an explanation, without ever asking if I wanted to come home. Bryn never came at all. On the 5th day, a kind-eyed social worker named Renata sat with me and asked gentle questions about my home life. I told her everything. She told me I had options. You don't have to go back. Dr. Cross knocked on the door. She could stay with me. Temporary guardianship. Until we figure out something permanent. If that's what you want. Why would you do that? I asked. You don't even know me. She sat on the edge of my bed because someone once did the same for me. When I was 17, my own family put me out. A teacher took me in and changed the entire course of my life. She touched my hand. You are brilliant. Juniper. Don't let anyone convince you that you're broken. I cried. I made my decision in that hospital room. I chose something different. 6 months later, I was practically a different person. Dr. Cross's house quiet, full of books and soft jazz records, became my home. I transferred schools and started fresh, where nobody knew about Bren, or the storm, or the words broken daughter. I threw myself into my studies. Straight A's weren't just grades anymore. They were proof that I wasn't what my father had called me, Vivian. She insisted I call her. Opened up an entire world I'd never seen: university lectures, legal aid clinics, dinners with professors debating policy and justice. Education is freedom. She told me once, knowledge is power. No one can take that away from you. I heard bits and pieces through old acquaintances over the years. Bryn was still the golden child, still the center of every room. My parents had quietly removed every photo of me from the house, as if I'd never existed at all. Good. I remember thinking, let them erase me. I'm building something better. By senior year, I had a plan study public policy, focus on child welfare law, and build something that would help kids who fell through the exact cracks I'd fallen through. I earned a full scholarship to a state university, graduated with highest honors, and Vivian cried at my ceremony harder than I did. I was hired almost immediately as a research coordinator in a university's public policy department, Vivian's University. In fact, in a different building, kept professionally separate but still close, at Doazit Shishase. I had an idea, a scholarship and housing support fund for students who had been thrown out of their homes, abused, or abandoned by their families, kids who needed exactly the kind of second chance I'd been given. I called it the New Foundation Fund. Vivian helped me write the first grant proposals. We secured funding from 4 separate foundations and launched at 1 campus. Then 3, then 7. By the time I turned 28, we distributed over $310. 000 in emergency scholarships and housing grants, and helped 52 students stay in school, stay housed, and stay hopeful. Local news outlets started paying attention. I gave interviews, always describing my story in vague terms, a girl who was told she didn't belong, without ever naming names. One afternoon, my colleague Marcus knocked on my office door. "June, you're being considered as keynote speaker for a graduation ceremony. Ashwood State University." My stomach dropped. That was Bryn's school. "Do you want me to decline on your behalf?" he asked. I looked at the stack of scholarship applications on my desk, 52 second chances, waiting to become 53. 54. "What's the theme?" I asked. "Resilience and educational equity. The president specifically requested you. He said your work embodies everything the ceremony should represent." I thought about Bryn sitting in her cap and gown, no doubt bragging about her perfect, supportive family. I thought about my parents in the audience, still convinced, all these years later, that they'd made the right call. "I need to talk to Vivian first." I said. That night, over dinner, I laid it all out. They have no idea I exist in this capacity. They probably think I disappeared. Or worse. "What do you want to happen?" Vivian asked. "I want to close this chapter properly, not with anger. With truth. I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing this because my story and the work it built matters." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Then do it on your own terms, with your head held high. Show them exactly who you became." I called Marcus the next morning. "Tell the president I accept." I heard through old classmates that Bryn's senior year had been documented in a stream of filtered photos and perfectly curated captions. So grateful for my parents who've supported me every step of the way. Blessed. Family first. I saw one photo of the 3 of them at a dinner, wine glasses raised, celebrating with the 2 best people in the world. My father looked older, grayer. My mother looked tired but proud. One old classmate mentioned in a group chat that the keynote speaker was supposed to be really inspiring. Some researcher who started a scholarship thing, Bryn, had apparently replied, "Oh, those speeches are always so boring." But whatever. It's my day. I smiled when I heard that, not for revenge, just proof that she had absolutely no idea what was coming. I wrote my speech over 2 weeks, revising it a dozen times with Vivian's help. Don't use names. She advised, tell the story. Let people connect the dots on their own. The morning of the ceremony, I dressed carefully, a charcoal suit, and Vivian's late mother's pearl earrings, which she insisted I borrow. In the mirror, I looked calm, composed, nothing like the soaked 16-year-old who'd once been told she was too broken to keep. Backstage, controlled chaos. I scanned the graduate program and found her name, Bryn Hale. Bachelor of Arts, Communication. Row 3. My heart slammed against my ribs. The university president stepped to the podium. Our keynote speaker has dedicated her career to ensuring every student, regardless of circumstance, has access to opportunity. Please welcome the director of the New Foundation Fund. Miss, juniper hail. Polite applause rippled through the auditorium as I stepped into the light. I walked toward the podium with measured, steady steps. Then I saw her. Row 3, cap and gown, honor cords, mid-clap, turning to whisper to the girl beside her. Then she looked up, saw me. Her hands froze. Her smile faltered, then collapsed entirely into shock. Behind her, row 8, my parents, still clapping politely, not yet registering whose name they'd just heard. I reached the podium and adjusted the microphone. Good morning. Thank you for that generous introduction. Today, I want to talk about resilience, about what happens when you lose everything and you find yourself anyway. The room quieted. Let me tell you about a 16-year-old girl. She was told she didn't belong, that something was fundamentally wrong with her, that she was too broken to keep. One night during a terrible storm, she was put out of her home and told she wasn't wanted anymore. Whispers rippled through the crowd. My father's head jerked up. My mother's hand flew to her chest. She wandered alone for hours. No phone, no money, no shelter. She was hit by a car and nearly died. Brain had gone completely rigid, face draining of color, but someone stopped. Someone saw potential where everyone else had only seen problems. That person became her family in every way that actually matters. I gestured toward the front row, where Vivian sat, eyes shining. That 16-year-old girl was me. The auditorium fell into absolute silence. My father half rose from his seat. My mother pulled him back down. Both of them staring, mouths open. Bryn looked as though she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. The new foundation fund was born from that storm. It exists for students who've been dismissed, cast aside, told they weren't enough. So far, it's helped 52 students stay in school and stay hopeful. I look directly at Bryn because being rejected doesn't define you. What you do afterward does. I close with this. Your worth is not determined by who stays. It is determined by how you grow after they leave. The standing ovation built slowly, then filled the room. My father stayed seated, hands over his face. My mother stood, clapping weakly, mascara running. Bryn didn't move at all. When Bryn's name was called minutes later to receive her diploma, the applause for her was thin and scattered. She walked off stage quickly and disappeared into a knot of visibly stunned friends. Backstage, my father and mother were waiting by a side entrance, along with Bryn, red-eyed and silent. We didn't know you'd be here. My father said, I'm sure you didn't. We owe you an apology. My mother said, you owe me a great deal more than that. I said calmly, but it's a start. We were wrong. My father said, his voice cracking, I've regretted that night every single day for 13 years. Good. I said, the word hung there, sharp and final. Bryn stepped forward, voice breaking. I'm sorry. I was 13. I was jealous and stupid. And I didn't think it would go this far. You had years to correct it. I said, you chose silence instead. Every time. That's not childhood stupidity. That's who you became. The university president appeared, entirely unaware of the tension, handing me a folder of new scholarship applications. Ms. Hale, that was the best keynote we've had in years. He turned to my parents. You must be so proud of your daughter. Silence. Then, quietly. My father said, "Yes, very proud." I looked at Vivian. "Can we go? Let's go home." She said, and linked her arm through mine. We didn't look back. The clip of my speech went viral within days, 500,000 views. Then over 1 million. Comments poured in times, family isn't blood, it's who shows up. This made me cry. Anyone know what happened to her sister? Emails and voicemails from my parents piled up, full of apologies and excuses. I didn't respond right away. Word came. Eventually, through mutual acquaintances, that Bryn's friend group had quietly fallen apart after people learned she'd spent over a year telling everyone she was an only child. 3 weeks later, Bryn sent an email, long, row, unguarded. She admitted to planning the whole confrontation that night, the screenshots, the bruise, all of it out of jealousy over a boy who'd simply preferred my company to hers. She admitted she never thought our father would actually throw me out. She admitted she'd spent 13 years lying to everyone, including herself, because the truth was easier to avoid than to face. I read it twice. I didn't respond for several days. When I finally did, I kept it short. I forgive you for my own peace, not yours. But I don't want a relationship. Please respect that. My father showed up at my office once. 2 months later, gray-haired and hollow-eyed. "Can you forgive us?" he asked. Forgiveness isn't the issue. I told him, trust is, and that's gone. 1 year after that graduation, the new foundation fund had expanded to 12 universities and helped over 90 students stay in school. I was promoted to senior director. I spoke at conferences on educational equity. I dated, briefly, a kind man named Theo. And though it didn't last, it ended without bitterness. Proof to me that not every ending has to hurt. Vivian turned 61 that year. At her birthday dinner, surrounded by students she'd mentored over 3 decades, I stood and raised a glass. "Thank you for choosing me," I said. She cried happy tears and told me, "You did the rest yourself." I still think about my biological family sometimes, not painfully anymore. Just quietly, a Christmas card arrives some years with no return address. Just 3 signatures and no message. I keep them in a drawer. I don't throw them away. I don't respond either. Bryn still sends a message every few months. "Thinking of you. Hope you're doing well." I read them. I haven't answered yet. Maybe someday I will. Maybe I won't. Either way is all right. Dr. Vivian Cross is simply mom to me now. She's the emergency contact on every form I fill out. The first person I call when something good happens. Blood didn't make her my mother. 13 years of showing up did every year on the anniversary of that storm. I drive past my childhood home not to punish myself, but to remember that girl survived being called broken. And she didn't just survive, she built something with it. If you're in a storm of your own right now, a real one, or the kind that comes from the people who were supposed to protect you, I want you to know something: you can survive it. And you can build something meaningful on the other side of it. Someone giving up on you does not obligate you to give up on yourself. Set your boundaries. Choose your family, whether or not they share your blood, and never let anyone convince you that you are too broken, too much, or not enough. You are exactly enough. Thank you for listening. If this story meant something to you, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.